Gurmagat, and thank you, Cathaoirleach, and I welcome the opportunity to speak, and I appreciate the effort or getting permission from the Office of the Ceann Comhairle to raise this issue. I'd like to begin this afternoon by congratulating Minister O'Donoghue on his promotion to Cabinet in the first instance, and more importantly his appointment as Minister for Transport with responsibility for road safety. I'd like to acknowledge the efforts of the predecessors in that department, Ministers Varadkar and Ministers Kelly, both of whom I found very helpful to me on this same issue that I've raised numerous times in the floor of the Dáil, and that is the N71 in West Cork. And I'd like to just acknowledge my appreciation to them and wish Minister Donoghue every good luck in your new role, and I look forward to working with you on it as well. This is an old chestnut, but it's a very important chestnut to me. It's very important to the people I represent. During the boom years, when the Celtic Tiger, the so-called Tiger, was flowing, we in West Cork were always amazed at why we didn't exist when it came to infrastructure projects such as be it school buildings and roads in particular. Thankfully, this government has addressed much of the decline in the school buildings, and we have a very substantial school buildings programme has taken place, even in the times of very limited finances, so I'm extremely grateful for that. But we still have made absolutely no progress with the NRA on the N71. I led a delegation up to them, I'd say almost 10 years ago, when I was chair of the Western Committee of Cork County Council, trying to get notice, but development plan after development plan was issued with no regard whatsoever for the N71. The last time there was money spent on the N71 was in 2003, when a kilometre of bypass carriageway was built around the town of Skibbereen. Since that, 11 years ago, there has been absolutely nothing spent worthy of note. Obviously there's maintenance and things like that, but no serious. We have a wonderful product in West Cork. I know the Minister is familiar with West Cork and will have enjoyed the product we have down there, as many members of the House have liked to come to West Cork, and we're very proud of what we have to offer. But unfortunately we have a huge challenge, and particularly this time of year, with the N71 accessway. There is a particular element of it, and that's by way of background, that introduction, but there's a particular stretch of the N71 which is no more than half a kilometre long, and the numbers of accidents at that particular junction, and unfortunately many of them with fatalities, and again we had a very recent fatality, tragic accident, a young girl, all of them are extremely tragic, and when the fatalities happen at this spot, we're all reminded of our duties, and it goes above and beyond politics, it goes above and beyond money, because it literally is an issue of life and death. There was 4 incidents already this year at this just half a kilometre stretch of roadway. There were 7 incidents, serious incidents, involving the fire brigade at 2013, and unfortunately again involving fatalities. 2012 there was 12 incidents, again recorded, official incidents at this half kilometre stretch away, and so on. The figures are there, the NRA are well aware of the issue. We as public representatives not only want to raise the issue, we have a responsibility to raise the issue. So I'm really pleading with you, Minister, and I know it's your very first topical debate and your first day in the office, or as good as, but I would ask you if you would approach the NRA for me and ask the NRA to make direct, proactive contact with Cork County Council. This is a matter of life and death. I'm not exaggerating any of the facts, I wish I was. Unfortunately, there's too many tragedies on this tiny stretch of road that has to be addressed. There's 2 bins to be removed. I won't go into the engineering detail with you here on the floor of the Dáil, but ask in your role as Minister to go to the NRA and ask them to be proactive and to contact Cork County Council to address this issue immediately, irrespective of the funding demands that they have on their times, and that you will come back and confirm to me that it is a priority for the NRA. Gurmagat.
Now call Mr. Pascal Donoghue, who has 4 minutes.
Thank you very much, Las Ceann Comhairle, and I want to thank the Deputy for raising this matter, and also to thank you for your kind comments upon my appointment. I'm very much aware that this is an issue that the Deputy has been working on and raising for a very long period of time, and I understand completely the importance of it that is attached to you for safety reasons, and also because of how important that route and that road is for your constituency and the broader country. As you are well aware, given your involvement in local government and in here, different levels of responsibility do sit, as you know, with the figures that are involved in this. As the Minister, what I have responsibility for then is the funding and policy in relation to the road network. As you well know, then the National Roads Authority then look at the planning, the design and the implementation of individual projects. And again, as you appreciate, then it's the local authorities that are involved then with traffic management and dealing with all matters in relation to that. I again also know that tragedies and loss of life and injury has occurred on or near where you're referring to. As I'm sure that you are aware, the National Roads Authority does undertake the ranking of our roads on a periodic basis in relation to safety concerns and in relation to looking at collision data to make an assessment of the safety of the area and the safety of the road. And I understand that work in relation to this was undertaken last year at Bohanag, which is east of the section of road to which you were referring to. Now, you began and ended with a direct question regarding whether I would make contact with the National Roads Authority to ask for a further update on this matter and to question and to see whether further remedial work and for whether further safety work should be prioritised for this section of the road. And I just want to confirm to the Deputy that I will do that. I know it has been raised for you. I appreciate why it's a concern for you and for your constituents and for the communities who live in and use the road. I will contact the National Roads Authority in relation to this, and I will ensure that a report and an update is furnished to you on a matter that I know you have now been campaigning on and raising for some time.
Thank you, Minister. The Deputy has 2 further minutes.
Thank you very much, Minister, and I appreciate your response, and I appreciate the willingness you're showing towards this project, and I look forward to working with you. I suppose my plea here today is twofold. One is for the bigger issue of the N71 and the upgrade of the N71, and the need for political prioritisation, and I argued on this floor, or debated on this floor with some of your predecessors in the department at ministerial level about, as politicians, we have an obligation as well to put a priority. We go out and we do collecting the funds, we collect the water charges and the taxes and all of that, and can be associated with that. I think as politicians we have to have a say as well of where the money is spent, and I'm determined to see that money coming down to West Cork. It's long overdue. I don't know what the Fianna Fáil-led government of the previous administration had against West Cork, and why in times of boom and plenty they decided not to invest any cent in upgrading the N71. Those days are gone. I can't do anything about them, but I can do it about today, and I will assure you, Minister, I will be constant in my pleas and in my calls to get funding for the N71 through the NRA, and I will appreciate the support of your good office. 2 points on this particular stretch of road. Yes, the NRA did work at Bonock, as you pointed out in your speech, Minister, in Rosscarbery last year, and they did some remedial works. Unfortunately, what it does, it moves the problem further west, because if you take out 2 bins and widen that road, they come in faster to the next bin, and that's the problem we have. This is as a result of years of neglect of investment in the N71. It has to be addressed in the macro, but in the short term we have to deal with remedial works on the approach to Rosscarbery. It's a beautiful village stroke town in West Cork, is Rosscarbery, very, very popular. Fortunately the locals know the stretch of road, and thankfully there's not that many accidents involving locals, but a lot of it is when strangers, and it's a very, very popular tourist area, people who are not familiar with it. A deputation, there's a request on your desk for a deputation from Cork County Council, led by my colleague Councillor Noel O'Donovan down in West Cork. They have seeking a deputation with you, Minister, from Cork County Council to lobby for funding for this. And I suppose such is the depth, and it's worthy of saying, and I saw this was carried in the local newspapers recently, such is the depth of willingness and angst and anxiety among the people locally to get this issue addressed. That one farmer has offered to donate his lands, which I think is an extraordinary gesture, and I certainly wouldn't be expecting any farmer to be donating lands, but he has offered to donate the land free of charge to the NRA at that stretch of road. And that will give you the depth of feeling that's there from the local people. So I think it would be remiss of the NRA not to take on board that very serious offer and to be very proactive in this. I appreciate your offer to deal with it, and I look forward to getting a report back.
Thank you, Deputy. Minister, for final reply.
Well, just to respond to the 2 different points that you've made, which is in relation to the road itself, and then of course the particular section of road that you're referring to. In relation to the road itself, what I'm now engaging in is reviewing what our capital spending plans are. In other words, the roads, that money that we will spend on roads and on other projects for the coming years. And there are many different priorities and issues that need to be addressed in relation to this. And again, I know that you have long raised the issue of the N71 and what has happened there. So I will absolutely take into account the point that you have made regarding the broader road and what needs to be looked at, while appreciating, as I'm sure you do, that this is in the midst of having to make choices in relation to how and where we spend money that we would have for infrastructure. But I do hear your point very clearly in relation to your view that the money needs to be spent there. And then in relation to the second point that you emphasised in your earlier contribution in relation to safety, as I said, Deputy, I will be contacting the National Roads Authority to update them on the debate that we have had here, to ask that they revert back to me and to you with an update on what has happened and as to whether safety work should be prioritised there in light of what has happened, in light of the ranking process that I referred to earlier on, and I will certainly ensure that you're made fully aware of that, and I'll also make sure that the National Roads Authority are aware of, as you described it, the extraordinary offer from the farmer in your constituency and in your community, which indicates to me just how seriously the matter is being taken by the people that you represent. So thank the Deputy for raising it. And in relation to the safety matter, I'll ensure you're furnished with a report on foot of this debate. Thank you.
Minister, I now call on Deputies Pollock, McLaughlin, Clare Daly and Mick Wallace. They address the question of Mr. Foreign.